In the deep living lands of the Pantanal, where the sun burns the soil furiously and the rivers wind like the veins of a sleeping giant, lived Jorge, a 60-year-old caretaker. His world was simple and surrounded by wild nature. Accustomed to the songs of birds, the smell of damp earth, and the constant noise of animals, Jorge had learned to respect the rhythm of the forest. He looked after a small farm, isolated but abundant with life. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The jaguars? He knew they existed, but he had never seen one up close. To him, they were just shadows that occasionally left footprints in the mud and disappeared before the sun even rose. The forest was his home, and he believed he knew all its rules. But one silent rule was always there, waiting to be broken. In nature, nothing is completely under control. Before continuing with this wild and true story, an important request. If you enjoy nature documentaries, animal life stories, and deep reflections on our role in the environment, don't forget to support our channel. Like this video, comment below what caught your attention the most, and share it with someone who also loves wildlife. This really helps our content reach more people and makes the YouTube algorithm understand that it is worth delivering this material to those who value what is done seriously and respects nature. Your support strengthens not only this channel, but also the fight for the preservation of incredible species like the jaguar. It was on a sultry morning that everything changed. Jorge, as usual, went out early to check the fences of the property. The tall grass swayed gently, and a strange silence hung in the air. He didn't know it, but something was watching him from the shadows. A jaguar, the lord of the fields and rivers, the largest predator in the Americas, was prowling the region. Perhaps the drought had reduced its prey. Perhaps the advance of man had cornered it. It didn't matter. That morning was no longer just another one. Jorge didn't have time to run. The roar cut through the air like a gust of thunder, and before he could understand, the fight for survival had begun. From that moment on, the goal was only one: to survive, to overcome the beast, and to return home alive. The jaguar is no ordinary predator. Its strength is legendary, its bite capable of piercing skulls, its muscles shaped for attack. Jorge was injured. Every second was an eternity, and instinct spoke louder. He crawled, hid, and screamed for help. The forest seemed deaf. Nature seemed indifferent. Meanwhile, the predator circled, sniffed, and decided its next move. Jorge faced the weight of fear, pain, and helplessness. There were no weapons, no shelter, only the hope that someone would find him. But it wasn't just the physical attack that challenged him. It was also the psychological weight of facing an animal that represented the essence of the jungle. Fear was no longer a sensation, it was a constant presence, as real as the sound of branches breaking around him. It was at that moment between life and death that Jorge had to decide, fight or give up. His body was weakening, blood was flowing, and the jaguar's eyes shone like gold under the shade of the trees. He knew that if he didn't do something now, he might never have another chance. With a branch in his hands and a scream coming from deep within, he tried to scare the beast away. A blow, a roar. The jaguar hesitated for a second that was worth its weight in gold. A noise in the distance, human voices. Jorge gathered his last strength, got up as best he could and ran, stumbling, panting, without looking back. The entire jungle seemed to be against him. Every tree was an obstacle, every root a trap. But there was a thin thread of hope pulling him forward. The climax arrived like an avalanche. The jaguar jumped one last time. It was the final confrontation. Jorge, on the verge of collapse, had only instinct and courage. Behind him, two men armed with sticks appeared, shouting and making noise. The jaguar retreated, not because it had been defeated, but because it didn't need to take any risks. It disappeared into the forest like a shadow. Jorge fell to his knees. He had won, but he was marked forever. The biggest challenge was not the jaguar's strength, but facing what it represents. The unpredictability of wildlife, the fragility of human beings in the face of nature. It was not a clean victory. It was dirty, bloody, full of pain and despair. But it was a victory. Jorge survived, but he was never the same again. He learned that the forest has rules that cannot be ignored, and that every noise in the forest could be the last warning. The jaguar, in turn, continued its journey, driven by instinct, not malice. The encounter between the two was more than an attack. It was a reminder. Nature is not a setting. It is a character. And sometimes, it confronts us so that we can remember who is really in charge. Jorge's new reality is no longer one of blind peace, but of profound respect. And those of us who have followed this story have learned a lesson. Preserving wildlife is not just about protecting animals. It is about ensuring that encounters like this are not marked by bloodshed, but by balance. The jungle breathes, and as long as there are jaguars walking in it, there is still poetry in the world.